What's up, Dragon Brood? It is Tuesday, April 7. We have more Ikoria previews today, and it's not a really big day. It's kind of like yesterday. There was maybe 15 or 20 cards that came out, so we'll talk about a few of the more interesting ones. So there's maybe only going to be about 5 or 6 things really to highlight today, but I think there's some cool stuff to talk about, so still worth going through the paces. And as usual, if you haven't hit subscribe yet, I'd really appreciate it if you did so. And if you like this type of stuff, hit the like button as well. This stuff will make sure that you get the notifications that stuff is going up. And we'll have some other content up later today as well. But for now, let's get to the cards. All right, the Alert Heat Bonder's amusing because yesterday we were just talking about what other Vigilance things would we be playing alongside the Felidar, right? And here we are, the very next day. Here's a 2-1 with Vigilance, and then you gain 1 life for each creature you have with Vigilance at the end of your turn. And, let's say there are things that put ability counters on stuff, so if you can give more things Vigilance, then maybe you're just gaining 3 or 4 life a turn, which could be huge in creature battles. I don't know so much about constructed play where it would fit, but it is split mana, so you can play it in a green or a white deck. The Felidar from yesterday is also a green-white gold card, so I don't know, maybe it has a home. It's definitely something that red decks would hate, especially with creatures having such big toughness and being able to gain life. That's kind of like a double whammy for them. In limited play, should be a pretty good card to have because there's going to be consistent life every turn. But in constructed, whole different story. So may not have a lot of fun there, but who knows. There's not really a lot to mention about Splendor Mayor, but I just think it's kind of cool what it's doing. That you get to cycle to draw a card, and then you just give something lifelink. And the thing is, you can cycle as an instant, so you can kind of surprise your opponent with some of that too. Maybe you're waiting to see if a certain thing gets through or not, or this card itself isn't necessarily what you want at a certain stage of the game, or maybe you just need more life so you don't die on the Alpha Strike coming back the other way, so you want to put lifelink on a 5/5 or a 6/6. So it's kind of cool. It's a little bit versatile. It's a okay card in general. I mean, a 3/3 lifelink for 3 isn't awful, but the ability to have that versatility of cycling and still get something for it in addition to the card is pretty good. The Ozolith is an interesting card because it's one of those ones that when you see it on a preview list, you sort of go like, okay, yeah, this makes sense as this card exists because we have a bunch of stuff putting counters on things. We want a way to not have them go to waste, right? So this card existing perfectly fits in the set. It is a legendary artifact, but it's also interesting because like having it in multiples wouldn't do a whole lot, I guess. I mean, well, I guess it would if it wasn't legendary because you can just put it on whatever. But in this case, when a creature dies, you get to put all the counters on it, and then when another creature comes into play, you can move all the stuff over there at the beginning of combat. So it's kind of interesting that as a creature dies, especially if you're piling up abilities on it, each creature is just going to become progressively better and better that you're putting out. This also is a neat card that works well with a Crystalline Golem I think we talked about on the 5th. Man, there's a lot of days grinding together here. But it's the one that every turn you randomize which type of counter it gets. So if this deck exists, those likely live together in that list on some way. But yeah, it's a neat card. I don't know how powerful it is. It's really going to come down to what does the deck or the set provide for decks that want to go down this road and put all the different ability counters on it. Because if it's worthwhile, then this card's going to be pretty good. Fight as One is an interesting card because it's funny. Because if you read it at quick glance, you kind of just go like, oh, well, this card's all right. But then start realizing that maybe not even in standard is this the card you want. Now, it's possible you do want to play in a deck that say it's all humans, right? As we've seen over the last couple of days of previews, there are going to be a lot of things that enhance humans for whatever reason. But think about something like Modern or Pioneer, where something like maybe Spirits is being played and it has a combination of humans and non-humans. That starts to really become a really strong card, right? Like your opponent goes to sweep the board, you can save 2 creatures. If they go to target it with removal, you could basically blank the removal for a turn. You can set up combat to where maybe you could surprise trick, take out 2 of your opponent's creatures and get a 2-for-1. Maybe even you find the last points of damage to take out a planeswalker that was unexpected, right? So being instant speed and give you the option to give 2 different things indestructible potentially is really, really good. I definitely would expect this card to see some play, but if I had to guess, it's going to be played more likely in Modern and Pioneer than it is in Standard. Well, if you ever wondered if Risen Reef wanted a friend, the answer might be yes, and if the answer is yes, you probably want a Parcel Beast. The fact that you could play Risen Reef on 3 and Parcel Beast on 4 is very interesting in the sense that this is also an elemental, so it will additionally trigger the Risen Reef, and then you get a land or a card. But then each turn after that, and it's a 2/4, mind you, so it's very likely it's going to be able to just stay back, block, and keep searching for cards. So we can almost guarantee you a card on some level every turn. It also has the ability to mutate this ability onto something else. So that's something to consider as well. I mean, especially if you're playing one of the decks that lets you take advantage of your toughness, so you can attack and deal damage with your toughness. That's a thing that can happen. There's a few different spots this type of card fits into. I'm not sure how good it is, but I definitely know in limited play, this is a card I would absolutely want. Because if nothing else, every turn I'm just going to get to filter through my deck faster, which is awesome. And it's a cheap mutate cost. It's 2 for potentially a 2/4, or you just get to add this ability onto something else. So yeah, I'm really big fan of this card. I think it's pretty sweet. Okay, not a ton about to say this card, but the translation we have says that it's a human bird, I believe is what it is. I want to make sure I'm not giving you the wrong actually, human wizard, I think is what we have. And it's a 2/2 flyer for 3 mana. Also split mana, so you can play it in white or blue decks, so that's another thing to note. And then it basically protects all your flyers. If your opponent has an ability or spell that targets it, they have to pay an additional 2. And, think back a couple of seasons ago where we had these blue decks with all the flyers or whatever, right? This is actually the perfect card for that type of deck. If you want to play something with a bunch of humans like we've been seeing over the last couple of days, then this is also a flying human, which helps. And if you have anything that's putting flying counters on stuff, then this now can protect all your other creatures. So there's a lot happening with this type of card. I don't think the card itself is very powerful, but it's a useful cog into a couple of different types of decks. So nothing really here to say that's revolutionary on it, but it's very much a just be aware it exists so it doesn't surprise you kind of thing. Okay, this is just a sweet name. Just weaponize the monsters. Let's just get that out of the way. With that aside, the card actually is pretty useful. I mean, there's a lot of times where you just don't want to overcommit things to the board and waiting for your opponent to deal with the creatures you have on deck. This can turn those into 4 or 6 damage potentially while you're waiting. Additionally, we were talking about the card yesterday that lets you get creatures out of the graveyard every turn, right? This gives you an infinite catapult to just keep sacrificing the thing you get back, especially if they have a enter the play or leave play ability that you want to take advantage of. And then there's other just little subtleties of the card that are nice, right? The fact that it costs 1. And when we were talking about the red-black companion a couple days ago, you can only play things with odd casting costs. Well, if you want to play a bunch of small 1 and 3 cost red creatures, this is a perfect card to go into that type of list. So it's a sneaky card that likely is going to fly under the radar a little bit, but it definitely looks like the type of card that decks might play 1 or 2 of as a finisher or just as some extra versatility. But like I said, if we do end up going with the companion deck of just odd cost spells, maybe this is a 3 of in that type of list. So a card like Escape Protocol actually makes me want to bring up something that I don't think I mentioned on any of these previews about Mutate. That if you have a stack of creatures, say there's 3 creatures in a pile sharing abilities, and you decide to blink them out of play, so something like Escape Protocol, you cycle, you remove the card from play, and it comes back. It actually comes back as 3 individual creatures. And that's important because some of those may have enter the battlefield triggers that you want. You may just need extra blockers for whatever reason, or you may just need extra attackers. Your opponent only has 1 blocker, and you'd rather break up that 3 stack into 1s, right? So who knows? There's a bunch of ways you could use this. There's also just useful cards that have their own ETB triggers that you want every single turn. And it looks like right now, some of the better setups for cycling decks are either going to be red-white or red-white-blue in some variety, and this is something that could fit into that very easily. And then this last one here is pretty simple. It's just a Sea Dasher Octopus to flash something in for a mutate of 2 and have a 2/2 creature, potentially, that draws a card if it goes unblocked. And it's one of those cards that, like, in and of itself isn't crazy powerful, but it's very efficient. 3 mana 2/2 with flash that lets you draw cards. Being able to mutate this onto something is also very powerful because of the flash ability. At the end of turn, maybe you play this for 2, put it on something. On your turn, you remove the thing out of the way, and then now you're replacing the card, right? So there's a couple of different ways this card could work. It's interesting that it's a rare as well. That sort of says that R&D is kind of giving us the indicator that they expect this to be a little stronger. So it'd be interesting to see where this type of card shows up at. It's a type of card that is going to be a little sneaky, a little surprising. I can see some possible teamer builds, especially with so many trample creatures or ways to put trample tokens on things. You could be getting cards every single time you attack. So there's a few ways this could work. It's an interesting card all around, and it has some pretty sweet art. All right, I think we're all caught up on previews so far now. This is like the 4th or 5th day in a row we've been doing these, but yeah, they're still coming pretty steadily. We're going to be getting previews all the way until the 9th, so 2 more days of previews, and then I believe the whole set's going to be out on the 10th, and we will probably do a final review on the 10th. Like I said, I may do something with partner cards as well at that time, and we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I really have to ask why not. I could really use the support. But at the very least, click the like button on this video and let me know what you thought about it in the comments. If there's another format you'd like to see me do these in, or maybe you want me to cover every card or more commons or whatever, let me know what you think. Or even about what cards you really like that we cover on each one. That could be a good conversation. But that's going to be it for the day, and we will see you tomorrow with more previews.